Hey guys, so I'm making a quick video for a client, and I also wanted you guys to see as well, with her permission. I wanted you to see what I was making. This right here is a freezer jar. The purpose of this freezer jar is specifically to keep away certain females from her man. Um, when you're creating a freezer jar, you want to make sure that your intent is very specific. Now, the situation with these females is they just cannot stay away from her man. No matter what, they just want to be around him. They have to find some way to contact him. So, I decided to create a jar for them to keep them away, to stop them from talking to him, and also to restrict them from certain actions that they continuously do. Now, they live in the same town, so it's easy for them to run into him. In my jar, I'm not going to tell you all the ingredients, but right here is some bindweed. The bindweed that I'm going to be using, I'm wrapping it in the petition paper. And my intent is very strong, very, very strong, because everything that you want them to stop doing, they find a way to do it. So I have enforced each and every single activity that they have found a way to do. Even though she has worked on them herself, everything they have found a way to do, I'm making sure with using my bindweed, as well as I'm going to be using as well dog grass, or you guys will call it couch grass, or you'll call it witchgrass. It'll be witchgrass is possibly familiar to a lot of you. So I'm going to be using the witchgrass to make sure that these bitches stay away in full. Stop talking to him. So, of course, I'm going to also add in slippery elm, right? The slippery elm is going to keep these women from having conversations with him, contacting him on Facebook, contacting him on Instagram. And I'm going to add in a few other herbs to make sure that these women stay away in full. Because then this jar is going to be frozen. And I'm going to leave it in there. I'm going to keep them frozen because they have a problem being respectful to relationships. So if you have some females out there that are not respectful to your relationship, you're going to have to create a jar for them. You're going to create a jar for them to keep them away from your man. And make sure that your intent is to make sure they stop speaking to him verbally. Verbal communication is one of the most important things. So make sure that you stop the verbal communication. That's number one. Now, there's nothing else really physical going on. There's nothing sexual going on. There's no relationship otherwise than that. But they will find a way, and that's what these women have been doing. So I put the herbs in here, everything that I wanted to add in here, and then on top of that, I created, a blend for them. I boiled everything together. I created a lot of heat first, and then I'm gonna cool these bitches down. Okay, but with the petition paper is right here. The petition paper is wrapped, and it has a bunch of bindweed all over it. And as I told you, what I had in there, 2 ingredients I had in there as well. Once I'm finished making the jar, I'm going to set this up. Create your own little ritual. What I do is always going to be different than you guys, because everybody's going to have their own situation. And, your situation may not be as serious. They may just be verbally talking to him. So you're going to create your freezer jar to shut their mouths, okay? I want this jar to restrict them from every single activity that they can think of and coming towards this man. And, since they're in the same town, it's easy to run into him. And we don't want no more run-ins. We don't want no more verbal communications. We don't want no more, hey, how you doing? Seeing at parties. We want to stop all of that. So we want to keep these women far away. And I'm freezing them because I want them to stay restricted. I want them to stay frozen. This has nothing sour in it. These women are not a threat. So I don't feel the need to create anything sour to hurt their lives because of that. But I will stop them from verbally speaking to him, having any kind of physical situation where they see each other at parties, have to touch each other's hands, anything. Eye contact, all of that. So when you create your jar, make sure that you are very, very, very specific in what you're doing it for. Because a lot of you are creating jars and you're not really specific with your petition. Make sure that your petition is very, very, very thorough. You want to make sure when you create your jar as well, you want to work on it. You want to work around it using your candles. You can use yellow for influence because you want to change the situation. You can add a bit of controlling oil as well, like as I say. And the influence I want to use is mainly to influence them to stay in their lane, respect the relationship, and stop trying to pursue him, because it can easily be something different. It can turn into more than what it is, because this is what their actions are. Their actions are to go ahead, pursue him as much as possible, and get back with him. And when I say get back with him, they were in relationships with him before, and he has left them, and he has no interest in them, but that is not stopping them. Now you can create this for an ex-girlfriend. You can create this for an ex-boyfriend. You can also create this for an ex-husband. There are many variations in creating this. This can be created for a friend you no longer speak to and you want to make sure she stays out of your life, out of your family's life. Stop speaking to your friends. You want to make sure that your intent is very specific, and that is why I wanted to use the bindweed, so I can restrict them from doing certain things and coming forth back and forth, back and forth. You don't want that. So you want to make sure 100% that you know what you're doing when you put them in there. You know what your intent is, and you also want to make sure that you are going to freeze this. Now, if you decide not to freeze this, then it wouldn't work. It's a freezer jar. It's a freezer spell. It needs to be frozen. And like I said, I'm not creating anything harmful as far as, placing any vinegar or anything in here like that, because my intent is not to sour them. They're not they're not bad people. They're just doing bad things. They're intervening in her relationship all the time. And they basically don't give a fuck. So when you have people like that and their heart is just trying to get back with him, you handle them in the way that they should be handled. You don't go emotionally, thinking, saying, they're hurting me, so I'm gonna hurt them. They're not really a full threat as far as they're not doing anything really bad. Like, and when I say they're not doing anything bad, they're not really like, they can be. This is the easiest way to manage them. They don't need to be placed in destruction jars. You don't want to fuck up their lives and stop their money from coming in and do bad luck. You don't want to sour them up. You don't want to put them on the doom list. You don't want to. It's not that serious. You understand? So work the situation according to the level. This situation is like a 3. This is like a 3. We're going to freeze them up. We're going to stop them from talking to him. We're going to make sure they stay away. And when they do see him working those influence candles, is to make sure that they understand in their head, he is not your man. Stay away. I want to influence them to stay in their lane and respect her relationship, and freezing them. So this is the best way to keep people in their place, as far as what I explained to you guys. If it's a situation with even certain family members and you want to, freeze them up and stop them from coming around and doing certain things to you, and for your family's sake. And if the situation is like at a level 3, yeah, then you create a freezer jar. It's not too harsh. They can be stopped. They will be stopped. And this is how I want to manage it. This is not even like a last resort type of thing, but this is like a beginning to keep them away and just stop them from intervening, period, and making them understand, listen, you're ex-girlfriends for a reason. And that's why I decided, working along influence candles is great for this. So this is not an influence jar. No, this is not an influence jar. I'm going to work the influence candles because I need them to get their minds where it needs to be, and that is, you are in the past. You are a part of his past. Stop trying to be in his future. Stop trying to be in my relationship. Stop trying to just stay away. That's it, basically. Stay the fuck away. Stop talking shit. Stop messaging him. And, for him, you need to work influence on him as well. And And depending on what type of man he is, then you may need to go a little harder and, create some domination and control him and make him have that understanding. So then you will use a skull. You can use a purple skull or you can use white to make him have the understanding that it's not okay to keep having conversations with ex-girlfriends. It's not okay for them to pop up, family events when you are there. Where and what part of that is it okay? Now, if it's a situation where the family members are inviting them over, then that's another thing too. Then this is something that you're gonna have to work everybody according to the situation. Because now if family members are inviting them, you're freezing the bitches out, you're controlling him, and family members are inviting him over, and there's always one specific family member, then we gotta deal with her. We gotta deal with her because she can't do no bullshit like that. Okay, so deal with everyone accordingly. And I'm sorry the camera's moving around a lot. I'm actually using my iPhone because I was making this, and then I decided to make a video because she asked me to make a video really quick. So this is the jar. It's gonna be frozen after I finish working it. And you make a brew. You put everything together and boil it up and get all of those ingredients in there. You want the essence and the flavors blended in well. And then I'm going to add in my petition. And, I'm going to do what I do. So, hopefully you guys get the idea of what I'm speaking about in this video. You can make your own. And some of the ingredients as well you can purchase at my website. And I may possibly just make a bag with everything in it that you guys can possibly just add in without, revealing my full recipes of what I'm doing. And you can work the same thing that I am. And you like I said, focus and intent. And get your point across when you're working on anything. Anything. Get your point across. Okay? So I will speak to you guys later. Like, subscribe, and stay blessed.